If you're comparing UptimeRobot with Uptime Kuma, you're probably trying to figure out something real. Should you pay for a service when there is a free open source one with 86,000 GitHub stars sitting right there? I work at UptimeRobot, but I can honestly say Uptime Kuma is a really good piece of software. Free, well-maintained, and MIT licensed. If you go and use it instead of UptimeRobot, you're not making a bad choice. This isn't going to be a video where I argue it's terrible, because it's not. What this video is about is something else, who each tool is actually right for, and a structural difference that most people don't think about until it bites them. Let me walk you through it. What's similar? At the basic level, both tools check whether your websites and services are up and alert you when they're not. Both have status pages, both support a long list of monitoring types, HTTP, TCP, keyword, DNS, ping, both have range notification integrations, and both have nice dashboards. The differences are in what gets checked. They are in how they run checks and what happens when things go wrong. Let me start there. 1. The big structural difference. Who is watching when your server goes down? This is the most important point in the entire comparison, so I want to start with it. Uptime Kuma is self-hosted. You install it on your own server in your own infrastructure. That means when your infrastructure has problems, your server crashes, your hosting provider has an outage, your data center loses power, your network drops. Uptime Kuma is also affected by the same problem. UptimeRobot runs from outside your infrastructure, from multiple data centers around the world. So when your server goes down, ours don't. And you get the alert from a system that's structurally independent. For some edge cases, this won't matter much, but for most, it matters a lot. Monitoring exists specifically to catch the moments when your site isn't working, and if your monitoring goes down at the same moment, you're back to finding out from a tweet. 2. Open source doesn't necessarily mean free. Uptime Kuma is free in terms of software cost, but it's a self-hosted product, so the real cost is everywhere else. I actually tried to install it before making this video. Here is the honest version of what it takes. You need a separate server that starts at $5 a month, you need Docker, War, Node.js, and the PM2 process manager plus Git. You need to handle SSL certificates yourself if you want the dashboard accessible over HTTPS. You need to regularly back up the database. Uptime Kuma stores everything locally. You need to update the software when new versions come out. And when something breaks, you're the support team. None of that is hard if you're a DevOps engineer who enjoys this kind of thing. If you are and would like to do everything yourself, Uptime Kuma might be a worthy alternative. But for a startup owner, a single admin of a single business, or a developer who'd rather spend that time building their product instead of running monitoring infrastructure, UptimeRobot is sign up, click, monitors live. No server, no maintenance, no updates, no headache. Whether your uptime monitoring is actually working or not. And it's free or costs the same as running the cheapest server for Uptime Kuma. 2 different cost structures. Pick the one that matches your time. 3. Catching outages that look like nothing's wrong. When you self-host, your monitoring runs from wherever your server lives. One location, your data center, your VPS. So when you check your website uptime, you're checking it from one point of view. UptimeRobot runs every check from multiple global regions by default. So if your site's fine from your office in Phoenix, but completely broken from your customers in Frankfurt, You'll know because you're checking from Frankfurt. With a self-hosted setup, that regional outage looks like nothing happened. You can technically build something like this with Uptime Kuma by running multiple instances in different regions and stitching the data together, but it will be difficult to build, complex to maintain, and will cost more per month than a paid subscription from cloud uptime monitoring services like UptimeRobot. 4. Alerts you can actually trust. The problem: not every failed check means your site is down. Networks have transient issues. A single packet can drop. A DNS resolver can hit cap for a few seconds. If your monitor treats every failed check as a real outage and starts an alert, your team gets paged for things that aren't actually broken, and after a few weeks of that, people will start ignoring the alerts. The next real outage gets missed because the team's being trained to assume it's noise. Self-hosted setups are especially exposed to this for a simple reason. The check runs from one place and there is no second opinion. If your monitoring service network has a momentary hiccup, every check looks like a failure. Every failure looks like a real outage. Alerts fire either way. UptimeRobot handles this differently. When a primary check fails, we automatically recheck the same target from a different region before triggering an alert. If the second region confirms the failure, you get the alert. It's real. If the second region says the target is fine, the first check is treated as a false positive and quietly discarded. No page and no alarm. Your team only gets paged when something is actually broken, which is how alerting is supposed to work. 5. What happens as you grow? For a small setup, a personal project, a couple of services, one engineer, both tools are fine. The differences here are apparently shown up. Where they show up is at scale. UptimeRobot's built-in workflows handle a lot of organizational complexity. Team members and permissions, monitor groups, integrations with PagerDuty for on-call rotations, audit trails of who acknowledged what, and a single source of truth for incident timelines. Uptime Kuma has some of this, but a lot of it falls on you to figure out. Manage user accounts manually, build your own escalation logic, work around the limits of a single instance setup as your monitor count grows. If you'll always be a one-person setup, that doesn't matter. If you might be a team of 5 or 50 in 2 years, it does. And one practical thing for everyday use. UptimeRobot has native iOS and Android apps, so you can check status, acknowledge incidents, or get push notifications from your phone. Uptime Kuma doesn't have an official mobile app. You'd be accessing the web dashboard on your phone's browser, which works but isn't really designed for it. 6. Where Uptime Kuma is the right call. To be straight, there are real use cases to pick Uptime Kuma. If you have strict data residency requirements that say your monitoring data can't leave your network, self-hosting is sometimes the only option. And Uptime Kuma is one of the best self-hosted choices available. So, who picks which? Pick Uptime Kuma if you're comfortable running your own infrastructure, you have an extra server or home lab you already maintain, or you have strict data residency requirements. The cost is your time and maybe a VPS. Pick UptimeRobot if you want independent monitoring that runs from outside your infrastructure with multi-regional checks, no maintenance, no server to manage, and a free plan that covers most people's needs. 50 monitors. You're trading some control for simplicity, reliability, and more functionality. Honest middle case, if you're not sure which side you're on, try both. UptimeRobot's free plan takes 30 seconds to sign up, and Kuma's Docker install takes about 5 minutes if you got a Docker already running. If not, then it's much more than that. Spending a few hours with it is the cheapest way to find out which one fits it's how you work. And that's the honest UptimeRobot versus Uptime Kuma video. Two genuinely good tools built for two genuinely different kinds of users and use cases. If you want to try UptimeRobot, a link is in the description below, along with some other helpful videos like monitoring a website, an SSL, or creating a status page. Thanks for watching and happy monitoring!